So the other night I was shaving because I knew I was gonna do this video today, and I had a little accident. My whole fucking beard came off. So Tukejes, that's how the gypsies say what's up. My name's Gino Goodlooking, so if you don't know, now you know. So anyways, right now there are riots going on under my face because the mean Joshua can get married now, and this has gypsies divided. So there's throwing letters being written back and forth on both sides because they don't know what to do with themselves. So basically, I'm here to tell you 5 things gypsies call other gypsies in throwing letters, and what they mean when they say these things. So without further ado, here's my list for you, so that you can journal the Ramones in the throwing letters, because I keep, and I'm a nice kid like that. So number 1 is an oldie but goodie, and of course, I'm talking about dead dog. Now dead dog is the equivalent to being called the N-word to my people. Being called a dead dog implies that when it comes to the circle of life, you rank somewhere between the rats and the roaches. In other words, you hold no value. You're down there with the lowest of the low. Calling back to the circle of life, so the lion eats the antelope eats the grass, and when the lion dies, it becomes the grass that the antelope eats. However, when a dog dies, you don't eat it. Not unless you're 0.1% of the Vietnamese population. To a gypsy, simply being called a dog would give you enough reason to write a throwing letter. But I'm sure you've heard the phrase, dog is man's best friend. So calling someone a dead dog implies to a certain extent that that person is dead to you, thus cementing itself as every gypsy's go-to dig. So number 2 on our list is fairly new to our community, and that term is cop caller. Now this implies that at the first sign of trouble, if given the opportunity, you will break the first 2 rules of being gypsy, the cardinal rules. Number 1, not paniche. And number 2, never give nobody in, because like buckkettling, once you do it, it comes back on you 3 times worse. So being called a cop caller is the gypsy equivalent to being called a rat when you're in the mafia. Now when the term cop caller shows up in our culture, it's basically a beacon like the bat signal to warn other gypsies of a possible threat. That threat being prison. Prison being the last place any gypsy wants to go, right next to Cleveland. Look, I'm sorry, I had to. Out of my city's hatred for LeBron James, I had to. He bucketto Derrick Rose's legs. Everybody knows this. Ask anybody, they all know. Which brings me to number 3, bucketteler. So essentially this means you were just called a witch. Like you were just called a witch. Maybe you read tarot cards, maybe you read the teacup. Maybe you put curses on people. Maybe you speak in tongues. Maybe you left your dirty shoes on somebody's back porch. Maybe you talk to Mule. I don't know, or fucking care. But anyways, if you're called a bucketteler by a Christian, it implies that you worship the devil. Conclusions will be drawn upon this accusation that may suggest that you have created a shrine of sorts, or that you have an arsenal of weaponry at your disposal, such as the black flame candle as seen in Hocus Pocus, the Eye of Sauron as seen in The Lord of the Rings, the Hogwarts sorting hat as seen in the Harry Potter films, the Book of the Dead as seen in the Mummy films, the Never-Ending Storybook as seen in the Never-Ending Story, which coincidentally ended, or the Tears of Other Gypsies as seen in Borat. Like, I'm having a lot of fun just naming stuff. So fuck it, I'm just gonna continue to. A witch's cauldron, one of those brooms you buy at the dollar store that immediately starts falling apart before you can get it in the car. That magic potion from Death Becomes Her. And of course, a black cat, because we all know they're bad luck. Listen, with all that being said, please don't buckettle me. Please don't buckettle me. I'm not pointing any fingers, I'm just giving the definitions to these terms. So number 4 is troublemaker. Being called a troublemaker implies that every time there's a problem, you're at the forefront of it. You either involve yourself, your name gets brought up, or you instigate it. Now once involved, you make it your personal mission to assassinate their character. You pretty much play the Trinity, judge, jury, and executioner. Everything you say is right, everything they say is wrong. Now when somebody calls you a troublemaker, what they're really saying is, nobody likes you. Nobody likes you, you don't have any friends, just like Gollum told Smeagol in The Lord of the Rings. The only difference here is they mean it. Now troublemakers will call other gypsies troublemakers as a means of starting trouble, only to use that newly started trouble as a jumping off point to bring the troubles of gypsies past back to the future for a second round, if you catch my drift. In other words, there's no new trouble. There's only the trouble from 20 to 50 years ago, meaning the Bubbas and Buppus are the troublemakers and everyone else is just caught in the middle. So number 5 is no good. In this instance, the definition changes based on sex, just like people's opinions of Bruce/Caitlyn Jenner. So if you're a man and you're called no good, it's pretty much just an abbreviated way of saying you're a lying, cheating, wife-beating drug addict that doesn't do anything for his kids. Once again, these are not my words. These are not my personal opinion. I am basing all definitions on the way you use them in your throwing letters. Now, if you're a woman and you're called no good, it's pretty much just an abbreviated way of saying you're a whore. Maybe you slept with someone's husband. Maybe that was just news. Hopefully it wasn't. Anyways, there are worse things you can do than go with a boy or two. Even though the whole city thinks you're trashy and no good, trust me, there are worse things you can do. For instance, you could talk to all the boys, message them, and then send Snapchats. Cousins own them and then laugh. Make them think they stand a chance and then tell them I keep you. That's the worst thing you could do.